Sometimes the people we look out for the most can disappoint us beyond words. Tyler Hadley refused to see his parents' actions as nothing more than a way to show that they cared about him. The case of Tyler Hadley captivated national attention due to its chilling and perplexing nature. It revolves around a young individual whose actions left the community stunned and searching for answers. The circumstances surrounding the case raise complex questions about human psychology, family dynamics, and the limits of empathy. As the details emerged, the story of Tyler Hadley prompted both shock and deep contemplation about the factors that can lead someone down a path of unthinkable actions. Welcome back to Ripshy Crime. This is the story of Tyler Hadley. Tyler Hadley was born on December 16th, in 1993, in Florida. His parents, Blake and Mary Jo, moved to Port St. Lucie shortly after he was born to be closer to their family members. Even though Port St. Lucie was not their ideal place to live and was actually going through a severe recession and real estate crash at the time, the family managed to get through it with comfortable jobs. Blake was a watch engineer at the nuclear power plant, and Mary Jo was an elementary school teacher who loved kids and was a beloved mother-like figure in the community. Tyler and his older brother Ryan lived what most would describe as a typical childhood. The parents believed the little Port St. Lucie would be a nice change for the family, and for some years, it seemed like it was. The boys would spend a lot of time outdoors and ventured out to explore the city they grew up in. Tyler was often described as a loving boy, but was noticeably withdrawn and shy around kids his own age. Even though he got along well with his brother, there were not many other kids he spent a lot of time with. Even from a very young age, it was believed by family members that he was suffering from anxiety and depression and very low self-esteem. When Tyler was a kid, he spent a lot of time trying out new hobbies, from sports to other hobbies, and playing new instruments like the drums and the trombone. But as he got older, he would leave everything behind after one or two attempts, saying he never felt good enough to keep going, or that he was a step below everyone else. Tyler's family knew this wasn't normal, but they weren't sure what they could do to help him past this stage in his life. They tried to convince him to make new friends and find new ways to spend his time, but it seemed like he was in a downward spiral. By the age of only 10, Tyler was being treated by various medical professionals for everything from acne to depression, and was even given growth hormones to help cure a thyroid condition he developed. By now, his life was far from normal. By age 11, Tyler was a troublemaker without a doubt, and all his friends and family members knew it. According to himself, he often graffitied public bathrooms and painted on people's cars in public with shoe paint, broke windows and items sitting out on people's property, stole Christmas lights, and even set fires to small parts of the woods just to watch them burn. His preteen years were filled with illegal activities that could have gotten him into serious trouble. Luckily for Tyler at the time, Port St. Lucie had bigger issues lying under the surface that forced the focus away from kids like him causing minor problems in town. Port St. Lucie was known for two things at the time Tyler was living there: the Mets, who had their annual training camp there, and marijuana. The smell of weed constantly permeated the city, and dealers from Miami were scooping in real estate everywhere they could purchase the cheap old houses to turn into growing hubs and essentially business centers. The houses were purchased for nothing compared to other cities, sometimes even just $50,000, and were completely outfitted with LED lights, hydroponic systems, and plants, turning them into full-blown operation sites. But in 2006, an investigation by federal law enforcement agencies found and charged more than 69 farms in town, but residents know that there are more lurking behind the scene. High schoolers, young adults, and even parents in Port St. Lucie, Florida, knew that weed was a growing issue, and even when Tyler was just a kid, it was surrounding him. At the age of only 15, Tyler felt the pressure. He was hanging out with the wrong crowd, smoking marijuana, and getting drunk on the weekends. By 16, he had tried worse, including Xanax, Percocet, and oxycodone, which are some drugs that some people can never break free of. Once he entered high school, it was clear to his friends and family that Tyler was no longer the little boy they once knew. They had always considered him quiet and difficult to read at times, but now he was just unpredictable and clearly troubled. Some people who knew him referred to him as really hyper, or always trying to pull in a crowd. Some may have thought of it as him trying to be the class clown, but the kids around him knew there was something going wrong in his life to make him act like this. One of his biggest burdens was allegedly his parents. Blake and Mary Jo had always been worried about their son's odd behaviors, but they believed he was only getting worse. They brought him to doctors and professionals with the hope of helping him recover from whatever he was going through, but nothing seemed to help. And over the years, they had also taken him to a psychiatrist and substance abuse program when his drug abuse problems came to their attention. As well, Tyler apparently had quite a lengthy minor criminal record when he was only a teenager, something that his parents felt was simply uncontrollable no matter how hard they tried. According to his records, Tyler had participated in drug use, sales, and even purchases, and had also been criminally detained on multiple occasions, including for charges of arson, vandalism, theft, and aggravated battery. In his late teenage years, Tyler was part of an outpatient drug treatment program, which clearly wasn't working because he was still using multiple illegal substances. His parents put him through this program just before he turned 18, desperate it would help him clean up his life before he was an adult that could be charged as so. But Tyler wanted nothing to do with this, and even less to do with his parents. He had no interest in becoming free from drugs and didn't put any effort into participating in the outpatient program. So he kept on as his normal life, which meant partying, drugs, and disobeying his parents also continued. One night, Tyler went out to a party against his parents' wishes. He arrived home late at night, drunk in his own car. His mother, Mary Jo, was beyond angry that he drove under the influence and took away his car and phone as punishment. But the punishment didn't work for Tyler, and all this control from his mother caused was for him to become even angrier in an attempt to break loose from their control. Tyler complained about this in a Facebook group with some of his friends just after it happened while using the family computer. After this evening, it was clear to Tyler's friends that something was wrong. He was noticeably more upset and saying things that seemed extremely out of the ordinary. His best friend, Marky Phillips, knew something was going on when he hung out with Tyler one night. The two lived just down the street from each other and often spent time together after school or on the weekends. They'd usually grab food and talk, or maybe go to a party to see other friends. This night, Tyler and Marky stayed at Marky's house to play video games and to watch TV together. According to Marky, Tyler seemed very unusual that night. Apparently in the middle of a seemingly normal conversation, Tyler blurted out that he wanted to kill his parents and have a big party after. Marky was taken aback by what Tyler had said, but he brushed it off, thinking there was no way he really meant it. He figured Tyler was trying to make a joke and just couldn't take him seriously. But Tyler meant those words more than his friends could understand. He thought that killing his parents would give him some sort of relief for the pain that they had caused him. In Tyler's mind, his parents had always been causing him issues. From the rehab therapy, the confiscation of his cell phone, there was a barrier in his life. He couldn't be doing what he really wanted to, which was partying and skipping school, not with them in his life. So Tyler put a sinister plan into motion. He was mad about getting into trouble, so Tyler became fixated on killing his parents. It was the only thing that he could think about. On July 16th, 2011, Tyler found a way to make his thoughts into a plan. On that evening, he decided he needed to do what he had been thinking about for so long. He started by taking his parents' phones when they wouldn't notice and hiding them in a place that they wouldn't think to look. His dad was upstairs, and his mom was sitting at the computer desk on the main floor of their house. Around 5 p.m., Tyler took some ecstasy to clear his head. He was worried he wouldn't be able to go through with his plan if he was sober. Tyler was unsure of how he was actually going to execute his plan. All he could see was the aftermath. A life free of people telling him what to do and managing his decisions for him. Looking for a weapon, he wandered into the family garage. The first and heaviest item he could find was a hammer, which he thought was good enough to get the job done. Tyler walked back into the family home, hammer in hand, and stood behind his mother at the computer. He stared at the back of her for 5 minutes before finally swinging. He swung and swung, while his mother screamed at him, asking him why he was doing this. Hearing the screams from his wife, Tyler's father came running out of their bedroom. Right then and there, he locked eyes with his son, begging his son to stop and asking him why he was doing this. Tyler shouted back, "Why the fuck not?" and then turned to swing the hammer at his father. When it was finally over, Tyler took a breath, looking back on what he had just done and what could never be erased. He knew it was too late to stop now, and the rest of the plan still needed to be carried out. With towels wrapped around their beaten heads, Tyler dragged his parents into their master bedroom and laid them back down, side by side, with the hammer on the ground between them. 3 hours later, after he had managed to scrub the scene from all of the blood and gore, he threw away every piece of evidence that could have incriminated him into the bedroom, with the bodies that he was planning on getting rid of the next day. The blood towels, shattered glass, blood-spattered coffee table, Clorox wipes, and mop all went to the top of his parents' deceased bodies. Then he got ready for what he had planned the whole time, the whole purpose of carrying out such an unimaginable act. He took a shower, cleaned himself up, and stared in the mirror laughing. It was now his time to throw the party he had been dreaming of for as long as he could remember. Tyler had been talking about the party to his friends all week, but no one at school believed him. He was never allowed to drink at the house, and his parents would be mortified if they knew he was having that many people over, so it seemed far-fetched to believe that he was going to host anything. He was never allowed to go to parties unless he snuck out, so no one believed he was suddenly allowed to host one. Especially with how increasingly strict his parents had been. It all seemed like a made-up joke. But at 1:15 p.m. that day, Tyler posted to his Facebook account a message saying, "Party at my crib tonight, maybe." Nobody was convinced, but he followed up with another message later on the day, saying, "Party at my house." Still, no one believed him. His friends messaged asking if he was serious and where his parents were if he was having a party. One of his friends, Ashley Hayes, messaged him to ask him what would happen if his parents came home during the party, to which he replied, "They won't, don't worry." With the promise of a fun party, none of his friends bothered to ask anymore. Shortly after cleaning up the crime scene, Tyler put the official call out inviting everyone over for his party. By midnight, more than 60 people were over, just dancing, drinking, and talking, with no idea that just a few doors over, his parents' bodies were hidden away in plain sight. In the kitchen, the high schoolers played beer pong and rubbed cigarettes into the walls without care. Tyler had different responses each time someone asked him where his parents were for the night. To some, he said they were vacationing in Georgia. To others, they were away in Orlando. And to some, he simply said it was his house and that his parents didn't live there anymore. Nobody knew what to believe, but as the party was in full swing, they surely didn't care. At first, Tyler tried to keep the party calm from getting too much attention. He told friends they couldn't smoke inside, but eventually he gave up and let everyone do pretty much whatever they wanted. After all, he thought of this as a major event in his life. The party escalated quickly, with teens peeing all over lawns across the street and drinking more than they could handle. By 12:30 a.m., the party was running out of liquor and the teens were getting angry. Tyler asked his friend Mark Andrews and his girlfriend to drive him just a few blocks away to a gas station to pick up some more so people would stay for longer and keep having fun. Mark ended up taking him after Tyler gave him a thick wad of $20 bills and purchased beer for all the underage drinkers. Mark went into the store by himself, and Tyler wanted to wait in the car with Mark's girlfriend. While waiting, Tyler actually told the girlfriend that his dad had recently passed away. When the three of them got back to the house, the teens were playing water pong and anxiously waited for their alcohol delivery. Kids walked around selling drugs inside the house, and some of them even thought this party was the biggest one they had ever been to. One boy at the party noticed the door to the master bedroom was closed, but thought there were kids inside with the drugs he wanted, and he attempted to get inside and join the fun. He tried to enter, but Tyler had the door locked. While trying to budge it open, he noticed a black smear about a foot in length beneath the door, leading into the bedroom. It looked like paint that someone had tried to wipe away, but he ignored it and went back to his friends. Later on in the night, police actually showed up at the party when neighbors called to complain about the noise. Once they showed up, a few kids left, and the rest quieted down. So the police left, thinking everyone was about to head home. But once they left, the party just got rowdier. Later in the night, he also told a few friends he was going to kill himself, but no one believed him. He He walked into his childhood bedroom, possibly with the idea of taking his own life, but instead, he found a girl taking a break from the noise, sitting on his bed. Tyler sat and spoke to her about how he might be going to jail for 60 years, and she'd find out why tomorrow. It was at this point that Tyler was beginning to come out of his high and back into reality. Now he started thinking about what would happen once the party ended. He opened up to his best friend Michael about murdering his parents, but he wouldn't believe him. Tyler said to Michael, "I know you're not going to believe me, but I killed somebody." He went on to tell Michael that he had killed his own parents, but Michael kept asking him what he was talking about. When Michael kept persisting that his parents were not dead, Tyler pointed out an obvious oversight the other teens had ignored when they first entered the house. His parents were allegedly in Orlando or elsewhere, but both of their cars were parked right outside in the driveway. And after Michael realized that Tyler might be telling the truth, Tyler took him into the master bedroom where he had stashed the bodies for the party. After showing him the bodies, Michael didn't leave the party. He started partying around for about another 45 minutes, even posing to take photos with Tyler in the family garage, where he explained he found the murder weapon. In the photos, Michael looked stuffed and stern, and they raised questions about why he didn't just leave the house after finding out the disturbing news. Both boys raised their red cups up in the photos, with Tyler's mouth twisted and his eyes intense with emotion. Both of them have faces mixed with horror and fear. According to Michael, the experience of seeing the bodies was horrifying. He claims to remember turning the doorknob to the master bedroom and seeing his deceased father's legs up against the door. In the moment he realized Tyler was telling the truth about killing him, his chest instantly sank. Likely still in shock, he couldn't find the nerve to run away like he wanted to. Just after leaving the party at 4:24 in the morning on July 17th, 2011, Michael called Crime Stoppers and left an anonymous tip telling them about what he just saw. Just 15 minutes after Michael called, Tyler posted another message to his social media accounts, inviting more people over to enjoy the party. He was obviously expecting the night to push forward, but plans had changed. Now the real chaos began. Police officers Adrian Zamowski and Charles Green rushed to Tyler's house and arrived to see that, shockingly, the party was still going on. As they walked up the driveway, they heard people inside the house talking. Through the slightly opened curtains, the officers saw a person pacing back and forth. They watched as Tyler picked up stacks of books and carried them back into the master bedroom, mumbling something under his breath as he did it. Finally, the officers knocked on the door to enter, but they were greeted with no response. Finally, Tyler opened the door. He was wearing a black shirt and black shorts with his left hand hidden behind his back. Unsure of what he was holding, the officers drew their guns and ordered him to put his hands up and step to the side. They checked him for weapons and ordered him to the ground. Tyler told them his parents were out of town and refused to let them see the inside of the house. Regardless, they made an emergency entrance into the house to investigate the scene. According to police, Tyler appeared nervous and even slightly frantic, rambling on to police about why they weren't allowed inside. Once in the house, police found beer bottles scattered around, littered cigars on the floor, and furniture tossed into corners. Even more shocking, they found blood spattered on the walls, something the partygoers had obviously not recognized. Once they entered the bedroom, the police found dining chairs and a coffee table tossed onto the bed, which immediately raised questions. After removing the furniture from the pile, they found the beaten bodies of Blake and Mary Jo, just as the anonymous tip had described. Tyler was taken from the party and arrested for murder. If the police hadn't shown up in the early hours of that morning, Tyler might have taken his own life, as he explained to his friends just hours earlier. According to police, Tyler told them he knew he was going to Rock Road, which is the location of the St. Lucie County Jail. With Tyler now in shackles, they left the house. Because Tyler was still a minor, and just barely, he was not tried as an adult and could therefore not be tried for the death sentence. In 2014, he was sentenced to life in prison without the opportunity for parole. While awaiting for his sentence to be given to him, he spent time in prison, even giving out autographs to other inmates. He spoke to various news channels and wrote eerie articles about his experience as an infamous killer. Tyler's sentence was overturned by a judge who stated that the previous court did not consider any alternatives besides life in prison. Juvenile cases were being treated differently following a recent change in the court system, and Tyler was not entitled to judicial review since the law had evolved. Even though the previous judge had worked to meet the legal requirements, the new sentence was required to ensure Tyler met the justice he was entitled to. However, the court met the same decision, and Tyler was again sentenced to life in prison in December 2018. He is currently imprisoned at the Okeechobee Correctional Institution and will likely serve the rest of his life there. This case serves as a shocking reminder of the effect that drugs can have on the human mind. Perhaps Tyler's actions were a direct effect of the abuse he put himself through. Just the night before the murders, Tyler had gone out to dinner with his parents, and according to friends who also ran into him that night, he appeared to be in a great mood. The weekend before the party, Tyler traveled to visit his grandmother with his parents in Georgia. It seems impossible to have seen something like this coming. In 2015, the Hadley house was demolished in the hope to forget the unforgettable events of that night. Tyler's parents, friends, and family members are trying to move on from the horrific events and continue on in memory of Blake and Mary Jo.